In a world where space and time intertwined in ways no one could fathom, a team of explorers stumbled upon a strange anomaly, an artifact buried deep beneath the surface of Mars, untouched for centuries. It wasn't just any object, it was the key to unraveling the most profound question of humanity's existence. Had humans always been here? The story begins in the year 2431, when the United Nations Space Coalition sent its first team to the Red Planet on an unprecedented mission. Their task was simple: explore, document, and return. But what they discovered was far from simple. As they dug deeper into the ancient Martian soil, a colossal structure was unearthed, its metallic surface gleaming under the harsh sunlight. It was not alien, as they had suspected, but distinctly human in design. This revelation shocked the team to their core. How could humans have been here, on Mars, centuries before Earth even knew how to travel beyond its atmosphere? The artifact, etched with strange symbols and codes, was a doorway, one that led to a hidden library of knowledge. It contained chronicles of human history that extended back to an era long forgotten, an epoch where Earth had not yet entered the age of the great civilizations. The ancient manuscripts detailed the first human migrations, not from Africa, as history textbooks suggested, but from the stars themselves. The revelations did not stop there. As the team deciphered the texts, they began to uncover details of a sophisticated civilization that had flourished across the galaxy. Humans, not as we know them today, but as beings who had mastered not just space travel, but time itself. They had built colonies on Mars, Venus, and beyond, only to vanish without a trace. The sudden disappearance of their civilization had remained one of the greatest mysteries in the galaxy. But the more they dug, the more unsettling the truth became. The technology they discovered was so advanced that it blurred the lines between science and magic. They had unlocked a device, one that could manipulate the very fabric of reality. It was an ancient relic from a forgotten era, one that allowed its creators to travel not just between worlds, but between timelines. A time-traveling machine. But the price for using such technology was steep. Once activated, the device could either protect or erase entire histories. As the team's understanding deepened, strange things began to happen. Members of the crew started to experience flashes of memories that weren't their own, visions of lives they had never lived, on planets they had never seen. They began to question the very nature of their existence. Were they just travelers in the endless stream of time, or were they something more? Had they been chosen by the artifact, or was it the artifact that had always been a part of them? The world they knew started to fracture. Events from the past, the future, and every possible timeline collided, creating a vortex of chaos. The boundaries between what was real and what was imagined dissolved. The crew was left with one impossible decision. Should they use the technology to return to the past and prevent their civilization's downfall, or should they let history run its course, accepting the inevitability of the future? In a final desperate gamble, one of the explorers activated the device. A pulse of light engulfed them, and for a moment, time itself seemed to stand still. The question was finally answered. Humans had always been here. Not as we know them today, but as eternal travelers, existing outside the constraints of time and space, leaving their mark on every era. The team vanished, leaving behind only the artifact. The universe moved on, but the discovery remained, a whisper in the wind, a mystery etched in the stars. And as the artifact lay dormant once more, one truth remained clear. The humans were always here, and they would never truly be gone. ChatGPT said. The universe, in its vast and unfathomable complexity, had already begun to reassemble the fabric of time, but the ripple left by the explorer's disappearance had sparked something in the ether, an echo that traveled through dimensions. The galaxy, which had thought it knew the boundaries of time and space, now hummed with a new energy, one that whispered of ancient travelers and forgotten histories. On Earth, life carried on as usual, oblivious to the cosmic upheaval that had occurred just beyond the reach of human understanding. But the world was changing. Strange phenomena began to appear in the skies, flickers of light that moved like constellations, but closer, far too close. People spoke of dreams where they weren't themselves, but someone or something else. Scientists dismissed them as mass hysteria, but those who experienced these strange occurrences knew better. They had glimpsed beyond the veil, caught a glimpse of a reality where their lives were just one thread in an endless tapestry. As the years passed, new generations emerged, and the mystery surrounding the artifact buried on Mars faded into legend. But for a select few, the truth was not so easily forgotten. A group of independent researchers, a ragtag team of scientists, engineers, and historians, began to investigate the strange phenomena and rumors surrounding Mars. They were drawn together by a single question: what if the past was not what we thought it was? Among them was Dr. Avery Holt, a former astrophysicist who had dedicated her life to unraveling the mysteries of time and space. After a strange encounter with a cryptic message left in an ancient manuscript, Avery found herself drawn to the artifact's last known location. She had heard the stories, the accounts of explorers who vanished, leaving only a trail of scattered memories and unanswered questions. The world had almost forgotten, but she hadn't. The answers were out there, waiting to be uncovered. Her team was small but determined. They traveled to Mars, landing at the site where the artifact had been unearthed, only to find it eerily silent. The excavation site, now abandoned, was in ruins. The massive metallic structure that had once gleamed with such promise had crumbled under the weight of time. But there was something else, something buried deeper beneath the surface. Avery's team began to dig, not with the hope of finding treasure, but with the certainty that something was still there. The artifact, its energy signature still faintly detectable, had somehow remained dormant. As they unearthed the final layers of soil, they discovered a hidden chamber, a hidden door, nearly indistinguishable from the rock around it. Inside, they found not just ancient relics, but a new truth. The humans who had once traveled across the stars had left behind a message, a warning, a map, and a promise. The map depicted a journey that would take them far beyond Mars, to distant planets and even distant galaxies. But the warning was clear: time is a fragile thing. Mess with it, and the consequences will be irreversible. They now faced a difficult decision: follow the map and uncover the secrets of the lost human civilization, or leave it alone, ensuring that the cosmic balance remained undisturbed. But the more they delved into the artifact, the more they realized that time itself was unstable. Pieces of history began to warp and shift around them, as though the fabric of existence itself was being torn apart. It was as if the universe was not ready for its secrets to be exposed. As Avery stood before the glowing artifact, she understood the true meaning of the warning. This was not just a machine. It was a key to unlocking not just humanity's past, but its future. If they activated it, they would set in motion a chain of events that could unravel everything they knew. Yet, the allure of the unknown was too strong. Avery couldn't resist the call of discovery. With a trembling hand, she reached out, touching the artifact's surface. A surge of energy pulsed through her body, and for a brief moment, the world around her dissolved into a sea of light and sound. She saw glimpses of future civilizations, humans living on distant planets, thriving in ways they had never imagined. She saw the rise and fall of empires across the galaxy, and she saw herself, not as the scientist she was, but as part of something much bigger, a timeless traveler, just like the ones who had come before her. And then, in a flash, she saw the truth. Humans had never truly been bound to Earth. They had always been scattered across the stars, throughout time, existing in multiple forms and dimensions. They were travelers, not just of space, but of time itself. The light faded, and Avery found herself back in the chamber, breathing heavily. The artifact was silent, its secrets now hers to carry. But the questions remained. Was this a warning, or was it an invitation to something greater? With the map in hand, Avery knew her team could no longer return to the Earth they had once known. The universe had changed, and so had they. Time, it seemed, was no longer a straight path but a twisting, turning road, full of possibilities and dangers. They would journey beyond the boundaries of their known reality, seeking answers that could rewrite everything. But one thing was certain: the humans had always been here. And they were ready to take their place among the stars once more. ChatGPT said. The journey into the unknown began the moment they decided to follow the map. Avery and her team had no illusions about the dangers ahead. The universe was vast, its history layered in ways they couldn't even begin to comprehend. Every step forward was a leap into uncertainty, but one thing was certain: they were no longer just ordinary explorers. They had become the inheritors of a legacy that stretched far beyond anything humanity had ever imagined. The map was like a cosmic roadmap, a series of coordinates that took them to ancient locations scattered across the galaxy. Forgotten planets, abandoned space stations, and cosmic anomalies. With each new discovery, Avery's understanding of humanity's true origins deepened. They were not just a species that had once risen from the ashes of Earth. No, humanity was a species that had transcended time, a civilization that had, at some point, scattered across multiple dimensions and timelines. Their first stop was a planet called Celestia, a world once inhabited by the early human settlers who had fled Earth's dying civilizations. But when Avery's team arrived, they found only ruins, tall, crystalline structures that shimmered under the planet's twin suns, remnants of a city that had once flourished. In the heart of this ancient city lay another artifact, much like the one they had found on Mars. It was a dormant temple, overgrown with vines, but its doors were open, as though waiting for them. Inside, the walls were covered with strange inscriptions, some familiar, others beyond their understanding. As they explored deeper, they uncovered a hidden chamber, sealed for millennia. In the center, illuminated by the faint glow of an otherworldly light, was a single object, a crystalline orb, pulsating with energy. Avery's heart raced. This orb was no ordinary artifact, it was alive. The moment she touched it, the room around them shifted. Time bent in strange ways. The walls seemed to dissolve, and the team was thrust into a vision of Earth, but not the Earth they knew. It was a different Earth, one where humanity had already mastered the stars, where cities floated above oceans, and great arcs of light connected distant worlds. The vision shifted again, showing them an ancient battle, fought not on the surface of any world, but across dimensions. It was a war between different factions of humanity, some seeking to preserve the natural flow of time, others desiring to control it, bending it to their will. The outcome of this war was unclear, but it was clear that the very fabric of existence itself had been torn in the process. Entire timelines had been wiped out, entire civilizations erased from history. And yet, something had survived, a small group of humans who, in their desperation, had used the time-altering technology to create a safe pocket of reality where they could preserve the essence of humanity. The orb, Avery realized, was a record, a fragment of the Time War, a safeguard created by the survivors to protect what remained of humanity's true legacy. But the vision was not over. It showed them what had happened to those who had escaped, the ones who had become time travelers. They had spread across the universe, hiding in plain sight, constantly shifting between timelines, never allowing anyone to discover the truth about their origins. They were no longer just people. They were ghosts, shadows in the fabric of existence, beings who had outlived their own time. The orb's vision faded, and the team was left in stunned silence. They now understood the true magnitude of their discovery. Humanity had not only mastered the stars, but time itself. They had transcended their own history, existing as timeless entities scattered across the vast stretches of space and time. They had never been truly gone, they had simply been hiding, waiting for the right moment to return. But the orb's last message was clear: time was unstable. The fabric of reality was tearing, and they were the ones who could either restore it or unravel it completely. If the war had taught them anything, it was that time was not a force to be controlled, but a force to be respected. To tamper with it was to risk everything. Avery stood before the orb, knowing that the fate of humanity's future and past now rested in her hands. She looked at her team, their faces filled with uncertainty and awe. The road ahead was no longer just about discovery, it was about survival. They had to choose whether to preserve the timeline as it was or risk everything to rewrite history, to reunite the scattered pieces of humanity across time and space. With a map in hand and the orb's secrets in their possession, the team set out once more, following the path laid before them. But the more they journeyed, the more the universe seemed to fight back. Cosmic storms appeared, timelines shattered around them, and they encountered strange, otherworldly beings, some familiar, others terrifying, who had long ago crossed paths with the time travelers. It was clear that they were not alone in their quest. There were others, beings who had known of humanity's true origins and had protected it from those who sought to destroy it. But there were also those who would stop at nothing to harness the power of time itself, to rewrite history for their own gain. The farther they traveled, the more the lines between friend and foe blurred. Avery began to question whether their mission was truly as noble as they had believed. Was humanity meant to rewrite history, or had they already done enough damage to the fabric of time? The only certainty left was that the humans, no matter what form they took, had always been here. And they would never truly be gone. But whether they would save or destroy the universe was still an open question. The team had traveled far beyond what they could have ever imagined, facing challenges that defied logic and understanding. The universe, once familiar in its infinite expanse, had become a fractured mosaic, a patchwork of timelines collapsing in on themselves. Yet, despite the dangers and the uncertain future, Avery and her crew had never faltered in their mission. They were humanity's last hope to restore balance. The orb, now glowing brighter with every passing moment, pulsed with a strange rhythmic energy as they arrived at their final destination, a dark and desolate void, a place where no time existed, where the echoes of forgotten eras hummed like a distant, fading song. The very fabric of the universe seemed to be breaking apart here. It was the core, the heart of the Time War, the place where all of existence was at its most vulnerable. The team had finally found the source of the disturbance, an ancient construct built by the first humans who had mastered time travel. It was a colossal machine, its purpose unclear, but its power undeniable. The machine was designed to regulate time, to ensure the stability of the multiverse, but it had long since malfunctioned. Its existence was now the reason for the unraveling of timelines, a corrupted engine threatening to destroy everything. Avery approached the machine, her heart racing. She felt the weight of the universe pressing down on her, the knowledge that one wrong move could unravel everything. The orb in her hands hummed louder, its pulse matching the rhythm of her heartbeat. It was guiding her, showing her the path forward. "We're here," Avery whispered to her team. "This is it. We fix this, or everything ends." As she reached out to place the orb into the heart of the machine, a sudden voice echoed through the void. It was not the voice of a single being, but of many millions of voices, from countless timelines, all speaking at once. "You cannot undo what has been done." Avery paused, her hand hovering just above the machine. The voice continued, now more focused, more insistent. "Time is not a force to be manipulated. You have seen what happens when it is abused. The universe will cease to exist if you continue." But Avery knew. She had seen it in the visions. She understood the cost. The key to restoring time wasn't in erasing the past or rewriting history. It was in uniting the fractured timelines. The mistakes made by the first-time travelers, the ones who had tampered with time, had caused this. The machine, once a tool of protection, had become a prison, a cage for the very essence of existence. She looked back at her team, who stood in awe and fear. They had come this far, and they would not turn back now. With a final breath, Avery placed the orb into the core of the machine. There was a blinding flash of light, a sound that rang across the void like a cosmic bell, and then, silence. Time itself seemed to freeze. And then, in an instant, the universe was restored. The fractured timelines, the collapsing dimensions, all of it came together, reweaving itself into a singular, harmonious existence. The ancient machine, now glowing with a soft, peaceful light, hummed with a newfound energy. The voices, which had once spoken in warning, now spoke in gratitude. "You have restored what was lost. The humans have returned." Avery stood at the heart of the machine, her mind racing. She felt the power of the orb flowing through her, her connection to the ancient travelers now complete. She knew the truth. Humanity had never been alone in the universe. They had always been a part of something much greater, a timeless race of travelers who had shaped the very fabric of existence. But now, humanity would no longer hide in the shadows of forgotten history. They would rise again, not as scattered fragments, but as a unified force, an eternal presence in the universe, bound by the threads of time itself. Avery turned to her team, her eyes filled with determination. "The journey isn't over. We've only just begun." As the final echoes of the universe's rebirth resonated in the background, a new dawn broke across the stars. The humans, those eternal travelers, had returned. And this time, they would leave their mark on the cosmos once more. This was the beginning of a new age. The age of the travelers. The age of humanity.